Alright, so today we'll start our last religion, which is Islam. Now guys, with Islam, I do always try to start when we go over Islam that a lot of times people confuse it with an actual place or like an ethnic group. That's not the case at all. Islam, or being a Muslim, that is simply a religion. Okay, it is a set of beliefs. It doesn't refer to a certain place. It doesn't refer to a certain group of people. Okay, it is simply the religion itself. But it does start about 600 years after the death of Jesus. It's going to be started by a man named Muhammad. Now, just like we've done so far with the rest of our study guide, you've got your abbreviations over here in the parentheses. That's just telling you where to write it on your study guide. So we've got geographic origin, founding leader, teaching main ideas, teaching main ideas. For your guys' teachings and main ideas, make sure you're writing very small in the Islam box. So there's going to be several in this one. Now this first slide pretty much summarizes what we're going to talk about with Islam. Well, we mentioned that it starts in a place called Mecca, which is in Saudi Arabia. And we'll see what Mecca looks like here in a little bit. The city of Mecca itself is very important to Muslims. So like I said, we'll talk about it more later, and you'll actually see some pictures of it probably on Monday. But it is founded by a man named Muhammad. And the core of their religion is based on the statement that there's one God and Muhammad is his prophet. Now, in Islam, they acknowledge that other prophets came before Muhammad. They acknowledge Abraham and Jesus, both as prophets of God. But they believe that Muhammad was that final and to them the most important prophet. But a believer of Islam is referred to as a Muslim. So Mecca, like we said, is located in Saudi Arabia. And Christianity and Judaism get their start up here in Palestine and Israel. So not too far away. So guys, this goes in teachings, main ideas, and this goes in sacred book. Now, here with the sacred book, I've got two different spellings. The word is pronounced the Quran. Sometimes you'll see it spelled with a Q, other times you'll see it spelled with a K. Both spellings are acceptable. It just kind of depends on who's writing it out as far as which spelling they use. You're going to see both. Back when we used to have an air test in social studies, there was the one time on the test they used both spellings. One question had it spelled with a Q, like 10 questions later they had it spelled with a K. So that's why I always try to show you both, because you're going to see both. Yep, that goes in the sacred book. So, according to Muslim beliefs, they believe that God sent an angel named Gabriel to speak to Muhammad. And he communicated through Gabriel to Muhammad and gave him a collection of messages and revelations. All these messages and revelations are recorded in that Quran. But a lot of the core beliefs of Islam have to do with, helping the poor and less fortunate, being kind to others. A lot of the same stuff that the other two religions that we've talked about so far, talk about. But just like the issues that they had, or the issue with Jesus, whereas more people start to follow Muhammad and believing what he preaches, it's going to be a threat to some wealthy people. They see his following, or Muhammad's following, as a threat to their power. So they plot to have him killed. Now the difference is the plot to kill Muhammad was unsuccessful. He learned of the plot and fled the city. So this occurs in the year 622. And Muslims have a separate religious calendar that they mark their religious holidays on, but it's based off of this event. Now the Islamic calendar, the religious calendar, it's 11 days shorter than a typical yearly calendar. So the religious holidays that are marked on the Islamic calendar, okay, they're not the exact same dates every year. There's about an 11-day difference each year. But today Muslims practice their religion in buildings called mosque. Now, here in our area, you're not going to find a mosque. However, in Ohio, in larger cities like Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, I think there's one in Dayton too. There are several mosques within those cities. So they are around. You can go to a mosque here in Ohio. But like I said, here in our part of the state, they're just not very many. Just because there's not a whole lot of Muslims in our area. You go to one of those larger cities, and you're going to find more people. Now, on the back of your study guide, go ahead and flip it over. If you look at the very bottom, you're going to see where it says 5 Pillars of Islam, and it's all typed out. Okay, so right next to that, not where it says number 1. Do not write where it says number 1. But right next to where it says 5 Pillars of Islam, you need to write down this. Write it next to where the word 5 Pillars of Islam is typed. But the 5 Pillars of Islam, that's like the 5 core beliefs or practices that their followers tried to do. And we'll go through all 5 of those. Alright, so the rest of our 5 pillars, these are all going to be numbered. So if you look at the top of the slide, it'll tell you where it goes. So this is what you're going to write in number 1. So the first pillar is often referred to simply as the statement. And it's simply that you believe that there's one God and that Muhammad is his prophet. Remember that Muslims consider Muhammad to be that final and most important prophet of God. Like messenger. Like communicated with God and spread their message. Now you're also going to see down here where it says that Muslims refer to God as Allah. That is not a name that they call God. Okay, it's not like they named God Allah. The word Allah is Arabic. Okay, that's just a different language, just like Spanish, French, Italian. Arabic is a different language. In that language, the word Allah means God. Okay, so when they say Allah, they're just literally saying God in their language. It's not a different name that they've given to him or anything like that. A lot of times that will confuse people. Alright, so next to number 2, because this is the second pillar, you're going to write, pray 5 times a day in the direction of Mecca. Now there's a couple things with this one. The praying 5 times a day, they're listed down here below for you. But all 5 of these prayers need to be done facing that city of Mecca. So there are several million Muslims in the world. They live all over the world. So no matter where they live, they're supposed to turn and face the direction of Mecca. So in our classroom here, it would be this way. They would turn and face this way to do their daily prayers. Now, your 5 times of the day. The first one's supposed to be before sunrise. The second is midday, right after the sun passes its highest. That's usually around noon. Okay, so just right after noon. Third is late afternoon. Fourth is just after the sun goes down. And then the last time is supposed to be sometime between sunset and midnight. Now, obviously, here where we live, there are not very many practicing Muslims. In other parts of the world where the majority of people are Muslim, these 5 times of the day, it would not be uncommon to see, a business slow down or close for this part of the day. You might, if it's a larger city, you might hear bells or horn signifying that it's time to do the prayer for that time of the day. But in places in the world where this is a common religion, most people, practice these either together or, at these certain times. So it sounds like a lot for us just because it's not part of, a lot of people's culture in our area. But in other parts of the world, this is pretty normal, pretty standard. Robbie. No, remember, churches are for Christianity. I'm talking Islam here. But like I said, when these prayers take place, this is right outside that Dome of the Rock that we saw earlier. Okay, so this isn't even in Saudi Arabia. This is in Jerusalem. But see how everyone's facing the same direction. See how they're not facing the actual Dome of the Rock. They're not facing the actual mosque. They're facing away from it. But the custom is that you would kneel down, bow your head till it touches the ground. Again, facing whichever direction Mecca would be. Alright, so you ask if they're in Mecca, does it matter where they look? The answer is yes. There is a certain spot in the city of Mecca, which I'll show you later on, where you're going to turn to do your prayer. Yes. Yep. But even if you're in that spot, there's a definite direction that you're going to turn and face to. Alright, next, number 3. It's give to the poor and needy. Muslims are expected to take care of and aid the poor and needy if they can afford to do so. Alright, so the question was asked if that's only other Muslims or anybody. That's going to be for anybody. But that's true of other religions. The core basis of all 3 of these religions, despite what you might hear on, movies or TV or whatever, almost all the time, well, not almost all the time, but, a lot of their main belief is to honor God and be kind and help people. So, there are many, many instances where, different parts of the world where these religions have coexisted with one another, tried to be peaceful with one another, and help one another.